Hey, I'm Dave Jacobson. This video is a quick overview of the preferences in QueueMaster. So a very important aspect of QueueMaster is the settings file. QueueMaster is saving all the settings you specify in this settings file. So you can save that pretty much wherever you want. You can either save it in your user folder, which QueueMaster will go in your documents folder and make a file with your name on it. You can actually click on the question mark to see where that's going. And if you want, you can even highlight that path and copy and paste that into your Finder. And there we go. So that's where my QueueMaster is saving my settings file right now. If I want to though, I can save it in the shared folder. Doing that means that the other users on my computer will be able to see the settings as well, and we can share the settings file. If it's in your user folder, nobody else can see that. And then there's also the custom file, which just means that you're going to be saving that somewhere else. You can be saving this on your network if you want to, which can be really useful if you're working in a department with other graphics people. If you're doing that, you might want to use the read-only mode. This will prevent people from inadvertently changing the settings. The next option we have is Purge Cache on PrepQ. What this does is when you hit the PrepQ button in QueueMaster, it empties the image cache in After Effects, freeing up some RAM and potentially making the render a bit more stable. I find this is especially necessary when you're working with multiple output modules. The next option we have is Enable Render Hogs. If you use my Render Hog script, this is a useful option because it actually makes sure that all the render hogs are enabled again when it's time to render. If you're not familiar with this script, head over to aescripts.com and check it out. This script helps you manage heavy comps by allowing you to tag render hogs and disable them until render time. If you want, download the trial. It's fully functioning for 15 days. The next option we have is Sync OM version numbers. Take my blue image sequence label for example. If I only started with the PNG RGB and the PNG alpha outputs and I rendered 5 versions of these, then I'd have obviously versions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I added audio into the mix later on without that option switched on, it would render a V1 of the audio. But what I really want is for all these version numbers to stay in sync. So as soon as I enable the output module for my audio, everything's going to start on a V6 since we've already rendered versions 1 through 5. The next option on the list is Look for Highest Version Number. Previously in QueueMaster 1.0, if you were to archive your old renders, anything that was versioned would revert. So if I had versions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and I removed the first 2 and archived them, QueueMaster would revert back and start rendering a V1 and a V2 again, and then it would jump to the V6. What this does is it just looks for the highest version number and disregards any other missing version numbers. These two options right here are referring to the Compact tab. If you don't like the quick labels, you can disable them. You can also just disable the colors if you want to. So I could just disable the colors like this, and now they're gone. And I can also disable the quick labels as a whole. So now I just have these two buttons, keeping this tab very minimal. I'll turn these back on. The last checkbox we have is Show Help Tips. This one's pretty obvious. When you mouse over any of the controls in QueueMaster, it'll give you a detailed description on what that control does. After a while, you might find this is getting in your way, so you can disable it. The very last option we have is Reset Label Names. And this is quite simple. When you click on this button, it's going to reset all of these label names back to their defaults, which is just the color. What I've done here is added a dash and then added the name of the setting. So if I wanted to, I can go into my prefs and click on that button. I'll get a prompt, and then when I go back in here, now it's just reverted back to all the color names. It's also going to clear out the quick label buttons as well. So now these are all empty. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. Shoot me a message if you have any questions.